This is the Nightbird Alison Steele for the United States Army Reserve, and our guest today is Rick Wakeman. And we're listening to Rick's fantastic new album, Journey to the Center of the Earth, based on the Jules Verne story. Rick Wakeman and the first two cuts from the album, Journey to the Center of the Earth, the introduction and the journey. And I am really delighted to have Rick Wakeman in the studio. Welcome, Rick.
Hello.
This is your first visit now since this album is out, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
It's probably the most exciting piece of music that we've heard in ages, and everyone here is just so excited about it, but they're even more excited about the big question in America now is what is happening with Rick Wakeman and Yes.
Well, I actually left the band about 3 weeks ago, which was shortly after we finished the European tour, which followed the American tour. And I'm now mainly working on bringing the journey as a concert to various places around the world. We're starting with an English tour in September, and when that finishes, coming straight over here and doing a complete American tour using provincial orchestras, but bringing the choir and the group and basically the same nucleus of people with us.
Fantastic. How many people will that be, Rick?
It'll be about 110 people on the road, and picking up about a symphony orchestra in different cities, which will be about 101 pieces.
How can a tour like that possibly, I mean, this might be too personal a question, but it's the first thing I think about. How can a tour like that possibly make any money?
Well, it won't. It can't, I don't think. But obviously, you don't look upon it as losing money or making money, because you hopefully there to promote your music and bring people towards your music, which will hopefully in the long run sell records. So you almost use the record sales to subsidise a project like that, because it would be destructive if you just went and if I just say brought a group over and you used a very small orchestra and a very small choir and did it sort of on a lot smaller basis.
You could never recreate the sound.
No, it wouldn't help the music, and it would be destructive to the music, and you'd lose all round in the long run then.
How long did it take you to write Journey to the Center of the Earth?
Over a period of 18 months, really. Which was in between sort of Yes tours, in between sort of breaks that we had in between recording.
How long did it take you to write The Six Wives of Henry VIII? That was a phenomenal album, too.
That was 11 months in between, Started in November 71 on that and finished October 72.
Fantastic. Have you written a lot of the material for Yes, too?
No, very little. John was the main writer of the actual songs, and we all had a sort of an equal part in sort of the arrangement and the orchestration of the music, which, even though we didn't write any songs, there's sort of just as much sort of music on the album as there is sort of songs.
Rick, I want to take a moment here for some words about Army Reserve. Who doesn't need more money these days? Agree? Well, then try this idea on for size. Monthly meetings in the Army Reserve mean a steady, extra income. Money to spend on a vacation for the family or a second car. Money to save for a son's college education. Money to salt away for a comfortable retirement. You attend 4 4-hour sessions a month in the reserve, and you also spend 2 weeks each summer at camp. If long-range success is just as important to you as instant money, you can keep moving ahead in the reserve by earning promotions. They'll even send you to a school to learn a skill that can be applied to a civilian career. So you can see that the reserve has a lot of good deals going. So get going with the reserve. That's the Army Reserve. It pays to go to meetings.
It pays, it pays. It pays to go to meetings. It pays, it pays. It pays to go to meetings. It pays.
This is the Nightbird Alison Steele for the United States Army Reserve, and our guest today is Rick Wakeman. And from his album, Journey to the Center of the Earth, here is The Battle. That's The Battle from Rick Wakeman's Journey to the Center of the Earth, and we're visiting with Rick Wakeman in the studio today. This is rather a difficult album to play on this particular program. I'm sure you know by now that it is a narrative album. And Rick, how did you happen to choose the Jules Verne story as the basis for an album, Rick?
Well, I like doing things to concept because it's easier to bring out the best in music to write to an already proven theme. it's interesting to note the majority of albums that come out, the sort of the titles and the themes that run throughout the album are often very weak, or the titles have actually got nothing to do with the music themselves, which made me think that perhaps a musician finds it very difficult to write for the right thing. So I felt that if I pricked on proven concepts and nice stories and things that contained a lot of colour to write for, that it would bring the best out in my music. And I read a lot of books, and I've always been interested in 19th century science fiction, H.G. Wells, Jules Verne type science fiction. And Jules Verne I liked the best because he was more of a science fiction prophet.
Yes.
Because 90% of the things he wrote actually came true.
Yes.
And this book is the only one that he wrote that hasn't been proven, that it's perhaps the only sort of science fiction story that he actually wrote, a science fiction novel. There's quite a lot of it that could actually be proven, such as that there could quite possibly be links between some of the volcanoes in forms of caves. And the whole book was written so colourfully to write. I mean, it was a joy to write for, with things like the battle, with the descriptions of the sea, of the forests.
It's fascinating, just fascinating. We're going to hear another cut from Journey to the Center of the Earth. This is The Storm. That's The Storm from Rick Wakeman's Journey to the Center of the Earth. And as I said before, unfortunately, we cannot play the whole album. How did you happen to pick David Hemmings to do the narration, Rick?
That basically came about by accident, because the original idea we had, which was about a year ago, or a year before we did the album, was to use Richard Harris. He decided to go and get married and vanish off to the Bahamas or something. And because we'd never really we'd never even thought clearly about choosing a narrator, because somebody suggested Richard Harris in the first place, and everybody stuck to it, never even thought about anything else. And then suddenly when he couldn't do it, we were in sort of a real spot, because we hadn't really sort of thought about the situation. And Lou Reisner said, well, what about David Hemmings? And it's really funny, everybody thought, well, that should have been the first choice. That's who we should have had in the first place.
Yes, he's got a marvellous voice.
And we called him up, and he was really keen, and he put in a tremendous amount of work. I wrote all the narrations and gave them to him, and he changed a few odd little things here and there that he said were better to speak, easier to put over. He showed an incredible amount of interest, came along to lots of the mixes, and he was absolutely tremendous guy.
Oh, it's such a fascinating sound. I mean, he's got such a marvelous voice, and of course, with your music for a background, it just makes the album one of the most fascinating pieces of music that's come out in our rock world for a long time. We're going to take a moment here for a word from Army Reserve, Rick.
Get it together, together, not alone. Get it together, together, till you're on your own. Don't you know it's day to go to meeting time for the good things you deserve? Don't you know it pays to go to meetings in the Army Reserve?
The Army Reserve, it pays in a lot of ways. You're paid for every meeting and each 2-week summer camp you attend. Extra money you can use in a lot of ways. And you get the chance to further your present skills or learn new ones. A chance that can really pay off in your civilian career.
It pays, it pays, it pays to go to meetings. It pays, it pays, it pays to go to meetings. It pays.
And now I think we have time to hear The Forest from Journey to the Center of the Earth. Rick Wakeman. We're listening to Rick Wakeman from Journey to the Center of the Earth, The Forest. Rick, thank you so much for visiting with us today.
Thanks very much indeed, thank you.
Rick Wakeman, and this is the Nightbird Alison Steele, reminding you that it pays to go to meetings in the Army Reserve. Steve Howe, brought to you by the United States Army Reserve, and I'm Alison Steele, the Nightbird. That's Steve Howe, and the cut is Beginnings from his album, and it's very appropriately titled. Steve's album, Beginnings, marked the beginning of a whole new era for the members of Yes, and I'm really thrilled to have Steve sitting in the studio with me today. Steve, you were the first of the solo albums. Did that make you nervous about it more than usual?
Not especially. I found once I'd finished it, I think I was more apprehensive while I was making it about finishing it. You know, I think when I knew it was going to come out, it was out of my hands then. So I thought they'll do what they'll do with it. You know.
I remember last summer when you were here, and everybody, you know, I talked to you about it, and everybody was doing an individual album. Everybody was working like little beavers on their own.
Right.
And you came in first.
Mm-hmm.
Was that something that just happened that way? You
Well, based on the fact that I started first, when we finished the winter tour, we did. Oh, what year was it now? 74. We came back, and a lot of the guys, a few of the guys were on holiday and things. I just about 3 weeks into January started working on it.
When you were doing the album, did you? Well, I have a picture, for instance, of you working on it and going and saying, John, come over, listen to this. How does this sound to you? Or Chris, what do you think of this? Did that work? Did you do that? Or
I had the same sort of premonition as you, really. I imagined that would happen.
But it didn't.
And it didn't happen quite to the same extent, but mainly not with the two people you've mentioned, as much as because Alan and Patrick were playing on the record, they were sort of available, and I sort of kind of cornered them and said, come on, get into this with me. And Patrick, to a lesser extent, on a sort of day-to-day working thing, but for the first month or two, Alan was around a lot, so he, you know, it was easy to ask him things.
Patrick is hard to nail down at any time, isn't he?
Yeah, but he did jump on a plane occasionally and come across, do things. But I really got quite a lot out of John anyway before I started it, because he knew all the songs anyway, and or most of them, except for the couple of new ones that were on it. So it was sort of it was easy to talk to John initially about it, and with Chris starting at the same time, you know, he was, you know, one part of the country and I was another. I was totally in London, he was sort of totally at home. So all the time in between the tours, Chris and I were both working and simultaneously. So
suppose all 5 albums are out. Let's still projecting them as a hypothetical or a mythical situation. Hopefully mythical.
No, it's
all right,
reality.
1 album out of the 5 becomes a huge hit, number 1 album.
Yeah.
And the rest of them are okay.
Yeah.
What do you think that might do to the interaction of the group?
Well, it'll be very interesting, because I think you know, it'll be more of a test for that person to see, you know, to make sure they'll have to look at themselves and say, am I still doing as much for Yes as I like to and should do, and things like that. On a sort of, it might hit their ego and they might think, wow, you know, this record's really gone. But good luck to them, really. I mean, obviously, when you make a record, you consider it is for everybody. You don't consider that it's going to be torn apart by critics, which usually happens with all our records. So, you know, you're in a different sort of zone. As I say, when you finish it, you give it to them, you say, you know, you fed it to the fish, if you like. And so they, from then on, I think, good luck, you know, I'd be thrilled if any of the albums, I feel it would respond very well back to Yes. It would be very good for the individual.
Would you be envious?
Well, not completely envious, because I feel my record did what it set out to do. But sure, I would have been happy for it to have gone top 10. But because it's still in the chart, and that for me is good enough. You know, I mean, it's gone halfway there.
And it still might go the other half. You know,
right.
There's always that possibility.
Sure.
I want to take a moment here, or half a mo, for some words from Army Reserve. You know, in just a few months, the Army Reserve can teach you a skill, pay you a salary, and send you home. Here's how it works. You go away for a few weeks of basic, followed by a few months of job training at full Army pay. Now you take off for home with a brand new skill. You'll be sharpening that skill 1 weekend a month with the Army Reserve, and earning some extra money, too. Now, not every unit can offer you every job, but the job you want may be open right now in the Army Reserve. This is the Nightbird, Alison Steele for the United States Army Reserve, and our guest today is Steve Howe. Steve Howe, Yes member, not former Yes member, but current Yes member and future Yes member as far as we're all concerned. Now, you've been with Yes now for, you came with Fragile.
No, Yes album. I think it's...
Yes album, right, the third one.
4.5,
okay.
5 years or something.
Now, you've been on a lot of concert tours. In your estimation, what is the most important thing that Yes has ever done? When I say important, I mean in terms of music, you know.
What, you mean recording, are you asking? Recording?
Yeah.
I think in some ways Close to the Edge was sort of a good standpoint. It was a sort of, it was a new experience for us to make a record that we'd actually captured the 20-minute sort of epic, if you like. So I'd sort of put that one forward as a
I would say Close to the Edge is probably the most requested of anything Yes has ever
Really?
done. You know,
Well-
it's I played, a matter of fact, a Friday night, played the entire thing as a treat, and I must have had 20 people call me say thank you.
good.
Because
Well,
it's that impressive, you know.
possibly I picked out the right one. I don't know.
See, I think Yes is now in the same spot that the Moody Blues have put themselves in, and the only reason that I make that analogy is because of the excellence of the two groups. But the Moody's were boxed into a corner of constantly topping themselves, and so is Yes. Do you think that the group can keep up that escalation of output?
Yeah, I don't see any reason why, when we've achieved the things we set out to this year, I mean, rather last year, if you like, by keeping the Yes schedule going, doing the quite extensive American tour we did last year, which was a hell of a lot of fun, and then getting into the records, I think we've all learned a great deal, and in fact, I think it's washing off as we get together to cut this new album. I think some of the different minglings that we've wanted have happened. In some ways, we've kind of, shred a shell, if you like. We've sort of taken off...
I beg your pardon.
we've sort of taken off an outer
Shred a
barrier,
shell.
if
I
you
won't
like.
even attempt that one. Steve, one of the questions that I've always wanted to ask, and even though last year I spent a lot of time talking to all the members of Yes,
Yeah.
I don't remember talking about this particular thing. Can you describe to me, you know, in 20 words or less, that kind of thing, what happens when Yes sits down to create an idea? What does it sound like? I mean, is it John calls a meeting and you say, I've got an idea, and Steve
Well, no, we
and
do
Chris
things
says,
in blocks. We sort of say we're going to rehearse, so we go and rehearse. We attempt to do nothing else, but usually we have a few meetings thrown in as well. But I mean, rehearsal to us is a very informal sort of, if you like, casual sort of experience where we don't mark up the achievements for a long time. We don't try and see what we're doing for some time. We just sort of do things, and that means play each other's songs. That means play ideas that are only that idea, if you like, just a lick, a tune, melody, or it can be a song that you've played on a demo. So we can exchange these ideas, you know, all those different ways, if you like. And the demo is sometimes the one we use. You know, we play a song we've done at home of our own, and it gets integrated into a song. Quite often we do actually sort of compose in the rehearsal room. We get ideas there because we're together, because the energies get pushed into the centre, if you like.
all right, can you remember how Close to the Edge was born?
Obviously, that was not an exception to any rules, but the only other method I didn't bring up was the fact that, you know, if two members prepare a song, obviously it has certain advantages, other disadvantages occasionally, but usually advantages in the context it can be presented to the other members, and it gets a good kick-off. So John and I did exchange ideas about that in hotel rooms and things. It was sort of a hotel room song, and so we sort of presented it to the group, not as is now in any terms at all. The chorus is the main parts of it, and then the musical structure was the arrangement, and that was done by all of us together. So, you know, that's how it is, or how it can be.
It sure is marvelous. That's how it is. Our guest today has been Steve Howe, and this is Alison Steele, the Nightbird, reminding you that in the Army Reserve, part of what you earn is pride. Chris Squire, brought to you by the United States Army Reserve. I'm Alison Steele, the Nightbird. That's the music of Chris Squire and his album Fish Out of Water. And I guess I can play on that title now and say Chris must feel a little like a fish out of water. He's just arrived from England, and he's sitting with me here in the studio. And when I say just, it is really just, isn't it, Chris? You just got here, what, yesterday afternoon?
Yeah, we just arrived from London, and we're just getting used to the time change.
It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But when you come from England, you tend to wake up at 7 in the morning over here. If you're used to getting up about midday.
What happens when you go the other way? Is it worse?
Yeah, when you go the other way, you lose a day completely. You get on a plane in New York here in the morning, and you get home in time for like 1 in the morning.
Oh, that's right. Yes, the same thing coming from here, from California. When you go there, it's terrific because you pick up a day and you feel as if you've really gained something.
That's right.
Chris, your album was the second to come out of the Yes solo projects. Were you nervous about putting out the individual product? I mean, were you nervous about how it would be received?
I don't think I was nervous, no. As you know, Yes have been together for 5-6 years now. And we could have done projects like this before, but we've waited until now because it really just feels like the right time now for us all as individual musicians to feel confident to do that kind of project.
Mm-hmm.
And so from my experience, with playing with the rest of the guys in Yes over the last 5 years, I managed to, pretty well see clearly what I was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I managed to carry the project through quite clearly.
Yeah.
But obviously there were certain different stresses and strains than working within the group structure.
Yeah.
Because there, you've got everybody around who's always putting in their ideas, and which helps to spark off yours. But
And
working
it's the
individually is a different thing. You have more power, of course, of choice of what everything that goes down. But there again, sometimes you could do with help. But I got over it. I enjoyed it.
Did you feel it incumbent upon you to stay as far away from the Yes sound as you could? I mean, when you started out to make this album, did you figure, well, I don't want it to sound like Yes? Or did you just kind of approach it with an open mind?
No, I just approached it that I want this album to sound like how I hear it as it happens. I just purely used my own head and thought, well, this is how I'd like to do it. And I didn't think, well, it mustn't sound like Yes or it must. I just did it.
That's good. Because a lot of the fans of Yes would feel that, I think in some groups, like, for instance, the Moody's, when the Moody's come out with individual albums, everyone, oh, it doesn't sound like the Moody's. I mean, they expected each one. They didn't expect it so much with Yes, though. I don't know why. I didn't get one comment like that. They were just thoroughly delighted with both Steve's album and your album.
I've heard, from different people, hey, your album really sounds quite like the band, and from somebody else, oh, I'm glad your album doesn't sound like the band.
Yeah, right, yeah. Of course, it's all in the ear of the beholder, right?
Yeah.
Chris, we're going to pause here for a moment for a word from Army Reserve.
You learn what you're made of while you're earning your share. In the Army Reserve, you'll be proving that you care. While you're serving your country and your future besides. As a part-time soldier with full-time pride. Full-time pride. You earn when you serve in the Army Reserve. And part of what you earn
When you serve in the Army Reserve, you'll learn a skill and earn a good second income. But there's another part to what you'll earn. It's something you paid for with your sweat, your spirit, your mind, and your time. It's called pride.
you earn when you serve in the Army Reserve. And part of what you earn is pride.
This is the Nightbird, Alison Steele, for the United States Army Reserve, and our guest today is Chris Squire. Chris Squire from Fish Out of Water, the current album, and someplace there must be someone, I suspect, that doesn't really know that Chris is 1/3 of Yes. He must be tucked away in a corner. 1/5, I'm sorry. Well, how did I forget Steve Howe, Chris Squire, John Anderson, and
Alan White.
Alan White, that's right. And
Patrick
And
Moraz,
Patrick, of course.
who's
How did I
new.
forget them? How did I? Patrick would have my head. The thing that I would like to have you say, to put the fans' minds at ease, because I do get many questions about it.
It's the one I've been waiting for.
Oh, really?
Well,
is that all right, let's see if you can...
No, I mean, only from intrepidation over the fact that I'm going to have to repeat it a few times over the next couple of days.
And
but-
I dread asking it.
Well?
I dread asking it, but the point is that if I don't ask it, I know they're all going to say, well, why didn't she ask them, you know?
Well, I can assure you, absolutely, that yes, aren't breaking up.
I knew that, Chris. But again, fans seem to get kind of paranoid about their idols. I mean, are you aware of that?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand, even sometimes when a group is touring away in other countries for a while, people seem to think they're not doing anything. They think, oh, that they must have given up or something.
I know,
but-
I get it on a really small scale. I mean, I'm not anything of the magnitude of you as a performer, as a star, but I get people, Alison, don't ever leave that station. I mean, don't ever go. They just don't want to accept or anticipate change when they really are into something. Chris, we're going to pause here for a moment for a word from Army Reserve.
We were so young, we had no common name.
Even before we had a country, we had people who cared about it. After 200 years, the citizen soldier is still here, serving 1 weekend a month with the Army Reserve.
Citizens in readiness, soldiers at the call. Citizen soldiers are still here.
For more information, call the Army Reserve Center nearest you.
Chris, did the group sit down and make any plan as far as who was to be released first? And do you have any feelings about the order of release having any influence on the success of the albums?
Yeah, as far as planning the actual timing of it, we left it loose because it wasn't that we were, said, well, this is the 3 months we can all have to record. It was more a question of when the person felt they were ready to start, they started. And Steve started to record first and me second. It's just that I wasn't quite ready to start.
I see.
And it's followed through like that. As far as the other question is concerned, I think it will obviously help every succeeding album to maybe do better, which I hope it will, personally. I hope that every album will be boosted by the others.
By the one before, so
because I know they're all going to be good, especially not obviously speaking egotistically for myself, but I know having heard...
It's just honest.
the other guys, Patrick's and John's, the things they've been doing, everything is of a yes standard. And also, it's broader as well. It's a broader spectrum of music than one gets with Yes, and hopefully that broader spectrum will draw more people into the Yes as a unit. So it's all really a pretty family kind of affair.
Oh, it always has been. Actually, the only change you've had in personnel was
Rick Wakeman left.
Rick Wakeman leaving,
Yeah.
and Patrick coming in. No, wait, you had
And
another...
earlier on,
You had another keyboard man before Rick. You had...
Very early on, yeah.
Yes, it was in the first album.
Tony Kaye, yeah.
Tony Kaye played on the first one and on Time and a Word. Right.
The other major change we had, of course, was when Bill Bruford left to join
Yes,
King Crimson.
King Crimson.
And Alan joined us then.
Chris, we're going to take a moment here for a word from Army Reserve. Do you know where to look for extra money in your own hometown? Well, there are jobs right under your nose. Your local Army Reserve unit has a whole list of part-time jobs that are available right now, and you can pick one from that list. And if you qualify, the Army Reserve will train you to do the one you want. After 7 weeks of basic and a few months of skill training, you'll be back home again, working for the Army Reserve in your new part-time job. That'll start putting good, steady money into your pocket. And after a while, you'll see that you're earning more than just money. Part of what you'll be earning is pride. Chris, our time, unfortunately, is up. I could talk to you for hours and hours about Yes. And I want to thank you so much.
Okay.
And can we look forward to seeing you in solo performance, or you?
I don't think so. No, I think that basically the band will stay together to perform, because I think we'll probably feel happier that way.
Might you do one of your numbers within the context
yeah.
of a Yes concert?
We'll be doing some of that using each other's songs.
Terrific. Great. Thank you so much, Chris Squire. And I'm Alison Steele, the Nightbird, reminding you that in the Army Reserve, part of what you earn is pride. Alan White, brought to you by the United States Army Reserve, and I'm Alison Steele, the Nightbird. The music of Alan White, 1/5 of Yes, or I shouldn't do percentages because I'm never very good at them, but one of the important, one of the most respected, one of the lovely members of Yes with his first solo album. And if I seem unduly enthusiastic, well, I am known pretty widely as a Yes freak. And I have to be enthusiastic over this album. And I am doubly enthusiastic today because Alan White is sitting in my studio.
Hi.
Hi, Alan. I'm so pleased that you could come and see me, and I'm very flattered. And I realize that Yes are superstars now, and they don't go around seeing people. Superstar.
Well, in your own words, maybe.
In my own words.
I don't
now.
know.
Well,
I think the band, we really feel as if we're just climbing still. We
No
haven't reached
question.
it yet.
there is no question. Of course, it particularly it gives me a big kick because when Yes came out, my feeling at the very first album was, this is going to be one of the major forces in music, and I think you have become.
Yeah.
And I'm not being facetious at all. I mean,
Okay.
all this is in fun, but there's no question but that certainly, in my experience among my audience at night, Yes is probably within the top 5 of all-time favorite groups.
Oh, that's very flattering.
And more than deserved. Now let's get to talk about Ramshackled, which is Alan's album, and it's a beautiful package. In case there's anyone that has not seen it yet, it's a pure white album with a lovely portrait of Alan on the cover. It's a drawing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a drawing of our manager found this guy who I really enjoyed his pencil sketches.
Well, Brian has a way of finding all
That's right.
sorts of things, doesn't he? Brian Lane, getting to be almost as well known as the group.
Right.
Alan, of course you know that when each member of Yes came out with an album, everybody inevitably felt that they'd put the needle down and hear Yes. I mean, hear the same sound.
That's right.
And certainly with your album, I think even more than Chris and Steve, that opening cut was even more of a surprise. Now, tell me how you happened to do the album just that way.
Well, I came from my role in the band as a drummer. I pretty much like playing with a group of people, not so much individualist as far as musical style goes. And I'm quite a schizophrenic type of person as far as direction goes. I can change from day to day. Therefore, on the album, I had quite a selection of different types of music that I really enjoy playing. It was a very happy feeling doing the album with these friends of mine that I've known for a long time. And finally, this was the chance I had to sit down and say, hey, let's have a good time in the studio and just make some good music. And as it turned out, we all got turned on by it, and it all happened in the end. It is a little different from Yes, but there's hints of Yes here and there, which I obviously wanted to have from the experience of being with a band like Yes. Drives, though, I mean, John Anderson pumps into you all this mystique and stuff.
Of course, and you can hardly ignore it. Oh, I think you got it very nicely in a couple of the cuts, Darkness and A Song of Innocence, and even things like Avakak.
Yeah.
The grandeur of Yes could be felt in it.
Slightly more jazz tinted as far as Avakak, the instrumental part of the album.
Yes.
There's a slight touch of jazz, and
Yes.
plus I always like working with horns and drummers. You'll find I always love working with horns because you can really
course.
kick them up behind, you know, and really.
That's the drive. That's the
Yeah.
drive of the band.
Yeah.
Where were you before you went to Yes, Alan?
I was playing with Joe Cocker for 6 weeks directly before Yes.
Well, that must have been, what, along the time of Mad Dogs and Englishmen?
About 3.5 years ago now.
Yeah, about the time they did the Mad Dogs and Englishmen tour.
Yeah, I did a little of that tour, and I did a European tour for 6 weeks with Joe. I really enjoyed that. I was working with Jim Keltner, who's another good drummer.
Fine. Yeah.
And the reason I really got into doing it was because of playing two drummers, and I wanted the experience of doing that on stage, and it really is an incredible experience.
I'd love to have time someday to sit down and talk about that two-drummer thing. I've always wondered about it. This is the Nightbird, Alison Steele for the United States Army Reserve, and our guest today is Alan White of Yes. We're visiting with Alan White in the studio. That's his music from his first solo album, Ramshackled, and hopefully the first of a long line that he will make, how do I say this, without the assistance of the rest of the Yes members.
That's right, individually.
And you did, didn't you? It's changed, too. A lot of fine musicians who make an album on their own, well, like take for instance anybody from the Grateful Dead family. Anytime any one of them has made a solo album, they've always used all the other members, or a good part of the other members on the album, and so it comes out very much the same as the group. But
yeah, this is it.
You made a point to go out.
Yeah, I did, because, it's a little silly, each of us making our own individual albums with our own interpretation of how we're feeling at this time, and using the members. Say I use Chris on my album, we'd start sound like the rhythm section of Yes, which is, we wanted to say something individually, and it's sensible. I used a lot of good friends and musicians I respect, and the rest of the band, we came to an agreement. I played on Steve's album about 5 cuts.
Yes, I know that.
And, but that was one of the first albums we got into as individualists, so we learnt a little bit from that album to steer clear of sounding too much like Yes.
There was no hard feelings, was there?
None at all. It was very, very
friendly.
nice situation between everyone.
Who were the people that you used on this album?
From scattered musicians around London that have been playing with various bands. I don't know whether you would recognize them over here,
Mostly session men.
Not session men as such. Session men who like playing with the people I like playing with, not so much reading the dots, and that kind of person. But Lindisfarne is a name you recognize.
Oh, of
There's
course.
a couple of people from Lindisfarne.
Good group, too.
A band called Snafu, which maybe you heard
Also
of.
a good group, yes.
Just people like that who've been around for a while and really know their instruments well.
It certainly was a happy blending. And now here's the music of Alan White. There's a lot of good cuts in this album, Alan. Do you have a favorite?
Yeah. There's a lot of different kinds of music, as I say, and I have different kind of, towards each different numbers, I get a different feeling at different times of the day. You no doubt worked out the schizophrenic kind of thing about it. Song of Innocence I enjoy a lot for the peace it gives me, and it's pretty much a poem kind of song.
Yes, it is.
It says a lot of nice things. Ooh Baby, I think, is one of my favorites as well.
The mover in him comes out with one like that.
Yeah.
The thing that makes me wonder about all these individual albums, I mean, it's marvelous for Yes fans because we've got exactly twice as much music. What will happen, for instance, when Yes goes on tour?
Well, we're planning on playing some cuts from the individual albums from everyone, but Yes are going to play them. It's quite an interesting experiment we're getting into as far as that's concerned. We've been rehearsing really hard for this tour, and
You'll have to have a very long tour on stage, won't you?
We did map a plan out of our stage presentation this tour and started running into 3.5 hours, 4 hours.
Absolutely.
So we're kind of thinking a little bit about that, considering we play every night.
Oh yeah, it's a bonanza for the fans, but I don't know how you could hack it because you'd have to play All Good People, you'd have to play a little Close to the Edge, and then you'd have to play a couple from yours, a couple from Steve's, a couple from
That's 10 new numbers, in fact.
Easily.
And a couple of ones off John's album are like 10, 15 minutes long.
I think we have time for one more cut from Alan White's album, Ramshackled. Lots of good luck on the tour, and of course give my best to all the rest of the members of Yes.
Sure will.
Nice of you to come and see me, Alan. Alan White of Yes, and this is the Nightbird, Alison Steele, reminding you that in the Army Reserve, part of what you earn is pride. John Anderson, brought to you by the United States Army Reserve, and I'm Alison Steele, the Nightbird. The fantastic sound of, and I should say the long-awaited sound, of the John Anderson solo album, Olias of Sun Hillow. And I'm delighted to say that John Anderson is in the studio with me today. John, welcome to America again.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a great pleasure to have you here.
It's good to be here.
Who is Olias of Sun Hillow, for those who might still at this date be uninformed?
Yeah, well, Elias is a mythical character. There is an Elias who was a saint. I'm not quite sure what he was the saint of. I was told once, but I've forgotten. But Elias was the kind of fantasy that came about out of the artwork of Roger Dean on Fragile. I had this idea that that ship that kind of hovered around was playing some little part in this idea of a story that was coming out at that time. And Elias, in a story you have to have the heroes and these kind of situations, and Elias was the guy who builds the ship to transport the 4 tribes from Sun Hillow, because of Sun Hillow being on a destruction course. And the 4 tribes have got to be taken away from the planet. Elias has 2 friends. One is Ranyart, who is the guide, and one is Caquake, who is the singer to the people, because Caquake is a mystic. And the 4 tribes are definitely different kinds of people, and they haven't seen of each other at all on the planet. So that when they come together, because they're brought together in a trance, they don't see each other that clearly. They just make music together, and the music that they make together brings the ship to life once they're inside the ship, and the ship takes off from Sun Hillow.
Just fascinating. Where did the inspiration come from, John, for the Moorglades and the names? I mean, it's just so fascinating.
Yeah, it was crazy that having read a few books, and there's a lady in North London called Vera Stanley Alder, and she writes about life and a lot of heavy, ancient statements she comes up with, very simple books. And from these sources, you start to conjure up a kind of idea for a story. So basically, about a year ago, I made the decision as to how the story was, so that I could start really considering the music to the story, and to make sure that the music and the story were one. It was that important. And then there came the time when I felt, well, I can't write the story because I've never written stories. I don't know if I could start. I could probably start a story, but to get into the middle and to make it
pay off,
momentum happen, right, and so on. So I asked a couple of people to get together to write it, and they started writing a book, and it all got a bit lost, and I couldn't quite see what they were getting up to. And we decided, me and Jenny and the kids decided to go to Greece. And I thought, well, there's got to be something going on if I'm going to go to Greece, because here I am going to Greece, and there's got to be something coming out of it. And one morning I woke up pretty early before the sun came up, and I heard this kind of buzzing just outside the window, and I walk outside, and there's a tree full of bees, and you can hear the bays and the bells of distant lambs going up the mountainside. And it was an incredible 2-hour period. I just sat there and watched the sun slowly rise, and then I started writing.
and
I started writing the story.
Well, it obviously was in you, and it needed something like that to bring it out.
Really.
But you certainly are a storyteller.
Well, I'm going to start getting into them now.
Absolutely, I can see a whole line of books.
Yeah.
We're going to take a moment here for a word from Army Reserve, and then we'll hear more about Olias.
Hi, this is C.F. Turner from Backman Turner Overdrive. When you serve in the Army Reserve, you learn a skill and earn a second income. But there's another part to what you earn. It's something you pay for with your sweat, your spirit, your mind, and your time. It's called pride.
You earn when you serve in the Army Reserve, and part of what you earn is pride.
This is the Nightbird, Alison Steele, for the United States Army Reserve, and our guest today, John Anderson. John Anderson and the first solo album, Olias of Sun Hilo. He made us wait a long time, but it was more than worth it. And he's visiting with us today. You know, John, the thing that struck me when I heard your album is the vast difference. Now, Patrick's album is a concept. That is the story of I. And the levels in the two stories are at such distant points. Patrick's story is realistic and sensual, and yours is totally romantic and mythical. And that, I think, more than anything else, points out the vast difference in the two men, you know, for those people who hear the music and don't really know you. Would you say that that is something to be overcome when you play together in Yes, or is that part of the success of the sound now?
Yeah.
Is it?
I think it is. It's the chemistry of different kinds of people together that make a band. And if Patrick's coming from this distance, I'm coming from the other distance, and the meeting is that part of Yes that is happening at the moment,
yes,
and that's why we're together. So I think we think the same. We think the same way about Yes, but obviously when we're away from Yes, we think a lot of different things.
That kind of divergent approach has not caused any problems within the structure of Yes?
No, because there's certain rules about Yes as a band that and I tend to hold the reins a little bit and say, well, okay, we can all zoom around, but we've all got to do it in this way, and everybody generally agrees that the way is right, so that's why we're together. There's always the chance that someone in the group of people might think of a different approach to something, and if the rest of the guys believe it to be the right way, then they're going to follow.
Yes.
And I generally have been the leader in that sense, that I've been a director of the music of Yes, and not been the instruments. They've been the instruments. And I've been the vocal instrument in that sense, but I've generally directed the music of the band.
I'm going to take a moment here, John, for a word from Army Reserve, with your permission. Did you know that a good second job can make your first job easier to find? It's true, a good part-time job like the ones in the Army Reserve can help you get valuable on-the-job training. You can learn to be a radio operator, a dental specialist, a computer programmer. In fact, you can learn any job that's open at your local Army Reserve unit. Naturally, there's basic training, followed by a few months of job training. But after that, you're home again, working for us 16 hours a month. You could be using the rest of your time to nail down a full-time job with the skill you just learned. And think about the money, too. You'll be earning a good, steady, extra income. But that's not all of it, because part of what you earn is pride. And now, as promised, more of the John Anderson album. John, the only complication that I can possibly imagine in contemplating these 5 phenomenally good albums is what happens in concert now. Can you play any part of Olias? Can Chris play from his album, Patrick? I mean, what happens on stage now?
Well, generally we felt there was a chance that we could get into this, where we could play individual tracks from the albums, as well as a lot of Yes music. And then, in fact, when we came on tour this time, we'd rehearsed some individual songs, And we tried them out the first couple of nights, but didn't feel that good about them. Mainly because the people have come to see Yes, and we are Yes when we're together. And when we're apart, we're now getting into solo projects and so on. So it made us feel that Yes was more important, and it is. That's why we can make solo albums, is because we're in a band called Yes, that is the home base for everybody. So the main thing now is to play Yes music, and very happily we're doing older tracks on tour at the moment, Heart of the Sunrise and Sin of Good People, and various tracks that we haven't done for a few years. And we're enjoying playing the music, we're enjoying the audience reaction to us playing Yes music more, rather than playing the new album or so on that Yes would have. Generally, Yes would have a new album out now, but because of the...
All the solo projects.
Yeah, now we're going to wait until Christmas for a new release of a new Yes album.
There will be one around Christmas.
Yeah, January,
Good.
Christmas, January.
Good. That's a question you just saved me from asking, because everybody's been asking me.
Yeah. We were very excited about the next album, having gone away from the home base and found out so much about ourselves in working in studios on our own and being responsible for our own records. We will feel a lot more responsibility for the next Yes album. We used to leave it generally up to Eddie Offord to finish the cut and make sure the test pressing was right and so on, but no more. I mean, we're going to make sure it's definitely good.
You're all more into it now.
Really, more so than ever before. I feel very strong interaction going on. We had a long discussion last night about where we should record the next album, and it's very important because of the way we've rehearsed songs for the next album, that the place we record has got the same amount of energy that we're going to be putting into it. So
should be exciting. More of Elias of San Hilo. John, thank you so much. It was so nice of you to visit with us, and thank you so much for giving us Elias of San Hilo.
Thank you.
John Anderson, and this is the Nightbird, Alison Steele, reminding you that in the Army Reserve, part of what you earn is pride. This is the Nightbird, Alison Steele, for the National Guard, and our guest today, Rick Wakeman. That's the very exciting sound of White Rock, Rick Wakeman's soundtrack, original motion picture soundtrack of the Innisbrook Winter Games. And I love the way the album says composed, performed, and produced by Rick Wakeman. And on the bottom it should say sold only by Rick Wakeman.
Yeah.
You've done every doggone thing on the album.
Well, I didn't really have much choice. When I came to do the film, the people said that they wanted it purely as a keyboard soundtrack rather than orchestral soundtrack. And so you always have to put the credits on the album. Because,
of course. Oh, I know.
And it's when I saw it, it read terrible. It reminded me of some of the terrible English radio programs where the same guy produces, directs, sings, plays the piano, does everything.
I know, that's what popped into my mind, and that's why I teased you about it. But hey, it's a deserving credit, and of course everyone has by now gathered that I am talking to Rick Wakeman, and I am delighted. It is a super album. I mean, it's already on the charts, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't follow the charts that much, but I know your manager, Brian Lane, I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, and he was ecstatic then. It's just a fantastic sound, all with just the keyboard, but it's overdubbed, isn't it? It's tracked?
Yes, it's all
multiple tracked. Yeah.
And there's a bit of percussion from a guy who used to be in the band that I used to have, English Rock Ensemble, a guy called Tony Fernandez. He added some percussion, but the rest is just keyboards. Yeah.
Fantastic. Had you seen the movie? Is it customary to see the movie before you write the score?
Oh, yeah. How it was done, I went for a very standard way of doing it, which is you go and see the rushes, and then before the film's pieced together, you have a meeting with the director. You discuss the music sections you want to use. You discuss the atmosphere he's trying to put over, or if there's a part that maybe lacks atmosphere, what he would like you to put in. Then you work out a timing sheet for the various accents that you want to put in. Then you put the various wipes on the film, go into the studio and do it to film. And then you do the overdubs afterwards.
It sounds so simple when you say it, but to me, of course, to any lay person, I never can really understand how it's gotten together. I mean, it's such a fascinating process. And when it comes out, it all just flows. The guy skis down the hill at the right moment, or the music comes at the right moment, whichever.
The difficulty is that you mix, you can either mix in 3 tracks or even on 6-track, so that you record slightly differently. And the problem comes is when you come to turn it into an album, obviously you have to remix, but you also have to re-record quite a lot, because if you watch the film and you see a guy on skis fall over, and there might be a cymbal crash or something, that looks quite fine in the middle of the music to have an accent there. But when you listen to it on its own, if there's suddenly, for no particular reason, a cymbal crash comes in, so you have to wipe those off or replace them, and without losing the flavour of the music for the film. Otherwise, you get the problem. For example, like on the John Barry 007 film scores, which when you actually buy the soundtrack album, it sort of bears no resemblance to the film, and then people complain.
Oh, they had to change it.
Well, yeah, that gets changed to quite a lot, like different orchestras and different people playing. It ends up totally different. Classic example of that was Listomania, which was a disaster.
Which one?
The Listomania soundtrack album.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Which was dreadful.
It had no bearing. In other words, it wasn't listenable without the movie.
Well, I had nothing to do with the putting together of the album.
You just played.
In fact, and when the album came out, I listened to it, and I think I only play on about 4 minutes of it, which is ludicrous.
Isn't that amazing? And you got credit for the whole thing, didn't you?
Yeah, which I tried desperately to get
the credit wiped off.
Wiped completely out of the way. Yeah.
You never really think of that soundtrack album. Of course, it depicts action in the movie, but then what to the person? It's like movie music with no pictures, so you have to use your imagination.
Yeah, it was a lot easier with this because there's hardly any talking in the film. I mean, James Coburn does a form of narration and tries out all of the various different parts of the winter sports. And the music sections are lucky, they're very long. There's only a few small sections where there's sort of 20-second pieces of music. Most of them are about 4 or 5 minutes long, which is useful because then you don't have to start trying to hash a lot of small pieces to make a large piece.
Well, I guess this was a good way to get your feet wet in movie scores.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to take a moment here with your permission, Rick, for a word from our friends at National Guard.
The guard belongs to the people. People are the National Guard. Just plain people helping people when things get a little hard.
Every employer you talk to wants people with training and years of experience. So what do you do if you're 18 and just getting out of school? Why not try a part-time job with the Army National Guard? Choose from 400 different career skills and get paid to learn, starting at $50 for just 1 weekend's work.
The guard belongs. The guard belongs to us all. Maybe you belong in the guard.
The Army Guard's career training gives you a big head start in the job field. Find out about it. Call us toll-free at 800-638-7600. That's 800-638-7600.
This is the Nightbird Alison Steele for the National Guard, and our guest today is Rick Wakeman. The album is White Rock. Everybody knows it by now. It is destined to be another Wakeman classic, and he gets total credit for it, his first soundtrack album. The original motion picture soundtrack of the Innisbrook Winter Games, performed, composed, and produced by Rick Wakeman. Very impressive. But then you've always been a very impressive man. You've cut your hair.
Yeah, afraid so.
I think you've grown taller. You put on some weight, have you? You used to be really, really thin.
Yeah, I went really, really thin. Then I went really, really fat. And now I'm somewhere in the middle, I think.
You look fine. You look fine. Now, of course, the question that I have to ask you that is on everybody's lips, can you tell us a little bit about how you happened to go back to Yes?
Yeah, that's... it came about, really, I suppose. I disbanded my band, the English Rock Ensemble, because I had the film to do and a live album that we'd done to mix and do a bit of re-recording. And I knew that I wouldn't be going on the road for about 7 or 8 months. And it's unfair to keep musicians on a retainer, just hanging about. And also, my bank manager wasn't very happy about it. So I disbanded the band. And at the end of the White Rock film, it came through till about, I suppose, October. And even after I left Yes, I still retained the same management, Brian Lane. Brian sort of came to me and said, listen, as you know, Yes are in Montreux in Switzerland recording, and he explained a bit about what was going on. which you can appreciate. I can't say what went on within the band because I wasn't there, so I don't know. He said, and Patrick's leaving, and they haven't started the album, though they've done a few demos. Would you like to go over and, well, lads want to know if you want to go over and just and literally work as a session musician on the album? And I said, yeah, that'd be fine. But I said, I'd like to go over first, hear a couple of demos or the ideas that they want to do, because if it's on the same sort of level as for example, a Relay, I mean, there's not much that I can relate to in that. So I wouldn't be able to help at all. And it wouldn't help them and it wouldn't help me. So I flew over about November the 7th to see them. And the four of them, that's John, Chris, Steve and Alan, had done a couple of demos of, very roughly, of two of John's songs. And I listened to it, and it was very much like what I felt the advancement should have been after Fragile and Close to the Edge. Musically, it was very song-orientated, but with a lot of sort of typical Yes playing. And we had a rehearsal that day, and I got sort of really into it. Then I stayed till the next day, and there was a party that was held by a guy called Claude Nobbs, who was the head of WEA in Switzerland. And at the party, we were all like just sitting around, and I think it was Chris who acted as sort of spokesman and said, look, listen, we know you didn't like the music when you left, but you obviously seem to like what's going on now. And I said, yeah. And they said, well, we seem to like what you're doing. You know, do you fancy making it a more permanent thing? And I said, yeah, fine. So I went back home, literally arrived back on the Saturday, packed my bags, left England on the Sunday, and I haven't been back since.
That's great. That's great. And here is the sensational White Rock album by Rick Wakeman, After the Ball.